Did David know Jesus is God's eternal Son? Did David know about the Trinity? How is this even possible, as David lived 1,000 years before Jesus? Let's look at a messianic psalm written by King David. A messianic psalm is a prophetic psalm or a hymn written about the coming Messiah. We are reading from Psalm 2. Why do the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, "Let us break their chains and throw off their shackles." The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. He rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath, saying, "I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will proclaim the Lord's decree. He said to me, 'You are my son. Today I have begotten you.' Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance and the ends of the earth for your possession. You," that is the Messiah, "will break them with a rod of iron. You will dash them with pieces to pieces like pottery. Therefore, you kings, be wise, be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and celebrate his rule with trembling. Kiss his son, or he will be angry, and your way will lead to your destruction. For his wrath will flare up in a moment. Blessed are all who take refuge in him." Let's try to break this verse by verse. Verse 1 and 2 says, "Why do the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and his anointed." Here we see two persons of the Holy Trinity, the Lord and his anointed, referring to the coming Messiah. In verse 6 we see the Lord saying, "I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain." Here again we see the Lord and his king, referring to the coming Messiah. In verse 7 we see the Lord, that is God the Father, addressing the Messiah, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." We see the same idea that God has a begotten son in John chapter 3 verse 16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life." In verse 8 and 9 in Psalm 2 we see the Lord asking the Messiah to ask of him, and he will give the Messiah the nations for his inheritance and the ends of the earth for his possession. We read in Matthew chapter 28 towards the end, Jesus said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. So then go and make disciples of all nations." In verse 10 and 12 in Psalm 2 we read, "The kings and the rulers are asked to be wise and serve the Lord with fear and celebrate his rule with trembling. They are asked to kiss the Son, so the Son will not be angry, and their way will not lead to destruction." Finally, the psalm closes with a statement, "Blessed are all who take refuge in him." In Acts chapter 17 verse 31 we read, "God has set a day when he," that is God the Father, "will judge the world with justice by a man whom he has appointed, and he has given proof of this to everyone by raising him from the dead," which is talking about Christ Jesus. May God enable us to kiss God's Son. In other words, pay homage to God's Son, fall face down to God's Son, bow down to God's Son, and finally take refuge in God's only begotten Son. May God bless you.